My neighbor's a real piece of work, eh? But guess what? I'm even worse. I'm down for a little game of dirty tricks, buddy. I won't stop until they're crying and begging for mercy.
Welcome to Storytelling INTP, where I deliver a short story weekly for you. Today's short narrative is How to Deal with a Nasty Neighbour. Grab your snacks. Let's get started.
I've been a troublemaker since I was a kid. I got kicked out of university for fighting. Just chilling at home, causing a ruckus every day, drove my parents' blood pressure through the roof. They decided to dip into their savings and buy me a secondhand condo to get me out of their hair. Out of sight, out of mind, you know? I was just looking for some fun when my neighbor from across the hall decided to waltz into my life. As it turned out, I stumbled upon a whole family of jerks. Jackpot! Let me tell you how I gave them a taste of their own medicine and drove them insane. At first, they'd pile up garbage at their door, leaving it for days until the building manager couldn't stand it anymore and took it out. I didn't care much initially, but one Sunday morning, the stench hit me like a freight train when I opened my door. I had no idea what was in their trash bag, but I almost puked. I lost it and banged on their door. A woman answered, all mean-looking and rude. She asked, "What do you want?" And I told her their trash was stinking up the place, and could they please get rid of it? She rolled her eyes and was like, "If you don't like the smell, you can throw it out." Man, tough crowd. So, as she said, I picked up their garbage bag, walked right past her, and tossed it inside their apartment. She screamed and cursed me out, saying, "You new here and already looking for trouble?" Her husband, a greasy, overweight guy with yellow teeth, came out. Without a word, he grabbed a kitchen knife and came at me, looking fierce. I stood my ground, taunting him, and said, "If you have the balls, stab me." He hesitated, his anger boiling over, but his wife, realizing I was trouble, quickly pulled him back. The chaos prevented him from actually using the knife. Not one to be outdone, I unleashed 20 years' worth of cursing skills, and even my dog joined in, barking at them. The guy swung his knife at my dog, threatening to kill it. That caused quite a scene, with neighbors stepping in to break it up. The woman cursed me out one last time before slamming the door, threatening, "You'll regret this, just wait." I was like, "Bring it on," and then some elderly neighbors talked me down to the ground floor. They told me I was bold enough to mess with them, as everyone knew they were the neighborhood bullies, too intimidating for anyone to confront. The previous owner of my place sold their house just because of them. This fired me up even more. I thanked the ladies and pretended to let it go, but in my mind I was set on giving them a taste of their own medicine. The next day, they upped their game with even more garbage, practically blocking the hallway. I remembered the old lady's advice about complaining to the property management or calling the cops. But that's not my style. You want to throw trash? Fine, I'll show you real trash. I went home, used the toilet, and let's just say I left a special package in a plastic bag at their door. I was amazed at my creativity. I waited eagerly at home for their reaction. Soon enough, I heard a commotion outside. They'd found my gift. They started banging on my door like mad. I opened it, and this time their whole family was there, including their kid, who tried to bite me. I pushed him away and slammed the door. They kept banging and cursing, but I ignored them. The door was sturdy, they couldn't break it down. I was determined to drive them insane. After about 15 minutes, the property manager showed up, having heard their complaints about me throwing feces and kicking their kid. They even accused me of being a murderer. The manager couldn't do much but knock on my door. I just turned on the TV and ignored them. Eventually, things quieted down. After a while, I went out to find the mess cleaned up, probably by the property manager. I was almost disappointed, expecting them to retaliate, but nothing happened for the next 2 days. They must have realized they'd met their match with me, but I knew the real battle had just begun. With evil people, you can't just stand by. You have to strike first and be even nastier to truly put them in their place. Just when I was pondering my next move, an opportunity presented itself. They started to leave shoes outside their door, including ones they usually didn't wear. Sometimes their kid would kick them over to my doorstep. I was thrilled. I found a seller online and bought a bottle of itching powder. The name says it all. Anyone who touches it gets itchy, perfect for pranks. After it arrived, I snuck out at night and sprinkled it into every shoe. I couldn't wait to see the results. Sure enough, I was woken up by loud banging on my door. When I opened it, I couldn't help but laugh. The woman was desperately scratching her feet, accusing me of putting itching powder in their shoes. I burst out laughing, seeing her red, scratched feet. She lost it, calling me heartless, saying they had let go of our past disputes, yet I continued to harass them. She cursed me out big time. I whistled for my dog Max to bite her, and he charged out. She freaked and scrambled back into her apartment, slamming the door and launching into a tirade of curses. Max is smart. He has never really bitten people. I patted his head and we went back inside, but then her husband started pounding on my door, threatening me. I just chilled on the couch with Max, ignoring the ruckus outside, and then they called the cops. About 10 minutes later, the police were outside calling for me. I opened the door, and her husband was red-eyed and furious, ready to attack, but the cops held him back. I taunted him. "Hit me and see how much you'll have to pay." He was yelling, saying I hurt his wife and he'd get me for it. She was crying, claiming I had hit her, and now she felt dizzy, possibly concussed, demanding compensation. I thought to myself, what a drama queen. The cops asked if I had hit anyone, and I firmly denied it. The couple got even more agitated, accusing me of lying. I challenged them to provide evidence. No witnesses, no surveillance, no proof. The cops were at a loss. I suggested, "Why don't you ask around about what kind of people they are? Maybe he hit her and they're trying to blame me." That set them off. They were fuming, ready to throw a tantrum. When other neighbors came out, they shared their piece with the cops, hinting at the couple's notorious reputation. The cops, familiar with the area, ended up just meditating on the spot and telling us all to go back to our apartments. The couple went back, frustrated and defeated, slamming their door. The guy threatened me one last time. "You'll regret this." I was so scared not. I cheerily saw the cops off, and they warned me to keep out of trouble. I nodded away, but inside I was already planning my next move. After I got home, I was just petting Max and thinking, by getting physical this time, I might have just escalated things. If those two had any spine, they might really make a big deal out of this. Man, I'm kinda stoked to see what they'll do next. But nothing happened for 3 straight days. Then, on Saturday night, I took Max out for a walk. Just as we got downstairs, Max found some hot dog slices by the road and tried to eat them. But I stopped him, worried they might be dirty and upset his stomach. Weird thing was, there were hot dog pieces all along our path, and I didn't let Max eat any of them. When we got back, there was a crowd downstairs. I squeezed in and found out that a neighbor on the 3rd floor was holding her dog, crying. The poor thing had died. I asked what happened, and she said her dog ate the hot dog slices and got sick. Likely they were poisoned. I was shocked. Everyone called the cops, and after some investigating, they found the hot dog slices had pesticide on them. Obviously, someone had left them there on purpose. The surveillance footage showed the culprit was the bad little kid from the family across my hall. I got it all then. The kid knew I walked Max every day and wanted to poison him to get back at me. That's just low, trying to kill my dog without thinking about other dogs getting hurt too. But when the cops showed up, they couldn't do much about the kid. My neighbors across the hall insisted that their son was just being a mischievous little kid, not doing it on purpose. The cops could only give them a stern talking to. The lady on the 3rd floor was both angry and sad, but she didn't dare mess with the family. She just resigned herself to her bad luck. But just because she let it go doesn't mean I will. This was clearly aimed at me. Oh, so they used their kid to try and kill my dog, thinking I can't do anything about it because he's just a kid, huh? Well, I'm not exactly the nicest guy around. If they're cruel enough to go after my dog, they can't blame me for playing dirty. So the guy across the hall, I found out he owned a pet store. So he's into selling birds and stuff, right? I remembered that birds are all about their looks and sounds. The sweeter the song, the pricier the bird, like thrushes, larks, and so on. Heard them when I was a kid. They sound pretty heavenly. And that's exactly where I decided to stir the pot. I dug out my old portable speaker and downloaded a bunch of nasty bird sounds onto my phone, then connected it via Bluetooth. By nasty, I mean sounds like crows cawing or just random discordant squawks from wild birds. The thing is, once those fancy songbirds pick up these bad habits, they can't unlearn them and their value plummets. Bird owners dread this big time. So I plan to swing by their shop with my speaker. My goal? To teach those birds some new tricks they definitely shouldn't learn. Bright and early, I rode my motorbike to the pet market and found his shop. I hung around outside until the guy left, leaving a couple of employees inside. Sneaking in with my speaker, I found a blind spot in the surveillance, close to where they kept lots of plants, and discreetly dropped the speaker there before slipping out. I cranked up the volume on those nasty bird sounds through my phone's Bluetooth. The shop instantly turned into a crow convention, all cawing and squawking. The songbirds picked it up in no time, creating a real ruckus. The staff were totally lost, scrambling around to find the source, but with all the birds joining in, they didn't stand a chance of finding it. After about 15 minutes, I knew those birds had all learned their new vocabulary. That's when the guy from across my hall came back. He stormed into the shop and lost it when he heard the sounds, cursing up a storm. I was outside, cracking up. I stashed my phone and walked off, feeling pretty good about the chaos I'd caused. His shop must have lost a ton of money that day. Those birds? No more high prices for them. Guess they'll have to be set free. Kinda did a good deed there, eh? That night, my door got pounded again. I opened it to find that couple standing there, fuming. The guy had my portable speaker in one hand and his phone in the other. He'd checked the cameras, figured out I'd been in the shop, and decided the speaker was mine. He was like, "You sneaky little jerky, do you know how much money you cost me?" I shot back, "What's that got to do with me? Got any proof on camera? No evidence, no problem. Go ahead, call the cops. I didn't hit anyone or break anything. They can't touch me." After I said my piece, I started recording them with my phone. "Go on, hit me. I dare you. It'll cost you a few more grand, believe me." He was livid. Then, in a sneaky move, he set up a speaker outside his apartment and started blasting music at my place. A real noise attack. I just laughed. The guy was scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas. I didn't react. I just let him play his music for 3 hours, disturbing everyone in the building. But no one dared to knock on his door. Around 2 a.m., they probably wanted to go to sleep, so they stopped the music. My turn. It's time to show him what real, powerful music sounds like. I grabbed my bass speaker. No need to open the door. I have a window in it. I opened the window, taped the speaker up there, hit play, and blasted some solemn, grand, melancholic music. Don't let the small size of that bass speaker fool you. It packs a punch. My music rocked the corridor at 2 a.m. The couple across from me was the first to rush out, banging on my door and cursing, even accusing me of disturbing the peace. Oh, the irony. I wasn't sleepy, so I put on headphones, watched some TV shows, and ignored the outside world. I have no idea how long they made a fuss, but eventually I just fell asleep. The next day, my solemn music was still playing, and I heard the upbeat tunes from across the hall going strong. Looks like they were set on matching me move for move. When I stepped out, the other neighbors looked at me kind of funny. I felt bad, knowing I was the cause, but hey, it's special times when you're battling the bad guys, right? A little discomfort for the greater good. My somber tunes and their lively music played back to back all day, turning the whole building into a zoo. Honestly, I found it annoying too. So I just plugged in my bass speaker to an extension cord for a non-stop 24-hour loop and hit the road on my motorbike, heading back to my parents' place. I had no clue how the building coped for the next 2 days. But on the third day, the cops finally tracked down my number and called, ordering me to come back and turn off my music. I lazily made my way home, where the police were waiting right at my door. The music from across the hall had been turned off. Through the cops, I found out it was actually them who called the police on me, claiming I was disturbing the peace. I wasn't even mad, just felt pretty pleased with myself. They'd been beaten again. I gave the police a rough idea of what had been going on. They already knew my neighbors had started the whole thing and had the nerve to play the victim first. All they could do was warn me sternly not to cause any more trouble. I promised I wouldn't, and they left. My neighbors across the hall never showed their faces during all this. I guess they were too embarrassed. A month later, they moved out, all quiet and defeated-like. Never saw them in the neighborhood again.
Thank you for joining us today. If novel short story readings captivate you, stay tuned and follow for more literary adventures. Don't miss our next episode.